We're here today with Ben Whiting, Vice President of Exploration for Oryx Minerals. Ben is a professional geoscientist with over 35 years of experience in the international mining industry, and he has worked for both major and junior mining companies, managing a wide range of operations from exploration through to production. He has also acted as a special advisor on mining industry matters to government agencies, the World Bank, and is a past adjunct professor at Queen's University in the Geological Sciences and Mining Engineering departments. Ben is an Economic Geology Medal Award winner and also won the 2008 IAC Explorer of the Year Award. In conjunction with his current position with Orex, Ben serves as the VP of Exploration for Barcel Minerals Corp. Well, Ben, it's good to have you here today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you.
Well, we've not seen a lot of exploration news from Oryx lately, but I know you've been very busy. Could you give us an update on what you're doing in Mexico?
Yes, in Mexico this past year, we've been consolidating the mining camp in the Sandraescobar area. And the projects in that area this season, Pan American Silver, which is very active in Mexico, as you well know. They have the La Colorado mine in nearby Zacatecas. Well, they are our joint venture partners on the Sandra project. This past year, they have purchased the interest that we had from our original joint venture partner, which was Kennesil. So as of this summer, it is a joint venture between Oryx Minerals and Pan American Silver as a 60-40 with they hold the 60%, we have the 40%, but for the next couple of years, we'll be the operators of the exploration, because that's our forte, as you know, that's our strength. They don't just come to the project bringing in their influence, but they also brought in claims. So the mineral claims that were on the northern part of the camp were originally Pan American Silver camps, Pan American Silver's property. So we have an interest in their property, and they now have an interest in ours as a single camp-wide exploration project.
Okay, a much larger piece of ground now.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, you may recall a geologist by the name of Dante Aguilar.
Yes, I know Dante very well. Yes.
Yes, an excellent geologist. He's worked in the past with Lewis Min and Goldcorp and knows the region very well. He has started a consulting practice, and his consulting practice at GES, we will be using some of his services at this time on the Sandra project, because we will be consolidating the mapping and the geochemistry for the project, especially in the overlap area between the two previous property holdings on the mineral concessions. Our plan is also to start a diamond drilling program later this season.
Okay, so you're thinking of doing some drilling out there in what, October, November?
That's about the timing that we're looking at this stage, yeah.
Okay, what size of a project are you thinking of? Do you have an estimate on that?
Initially, probably 2,000 meters, but we will certainly have room to expand upon that, depending upon the technical committee's desires and the direction that we're heading.
Okay, real good. Well, I know that the Sandraescobar Project is your main focus, but you also have the Conetto Project, which is actually a district-wide property, a district-scale property that you're working with the JV with Fresnillo.
That's correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Right in the heart of the silver trend is where these projects are. In the Mesa Central is the town of Conetto de Comonfort, and it is an old mining camp in that mining started there at the time of the conquistadors. So 450 years ago, they had started the mining in that camp, and it's a window into the lower volcanic succession of the tertiary age rocks that are often host to major deposits in Mexico. Surrounding the area is the upper volcanic rhyolites. You can see this window for about 17 kilometers by 4 kilometers wide. And in there are over 50 mineralized veins for intermediate sulfidation, gold and silver mineralization.
Okay, by the window, you mean it's an area where the overlying volcanics has been eroded away?
eroded away, and part of it, you actually drop down into that part. So the hillsides that you're looking up at are the rhyolite cliffs, but the rocks that you're standing on is the lower volcanic andesites, and you can put your hand right on the contact as you're driving into the town. So
Oh,
that time horizon, you can spot it. And it's normally when I'm taking somebody into the camp, I'll show them that's the time distinction between these two packages.
huh, that's great. Well, we could go back to Sandraescobar. That project has a very dramatic history. It would be great if you could give us a little bit of background on the Sandraescobar project.
Yeah, we're probably going to reduce the name just to the Sandra Project as we merge the two claims together.
Okay.
Let's call it Sandra from this point on. Canasil did a lot of the compilation of the mineral concessions in that area. And so I give Canasil credit for recognizing the potential, and they found some lithogeochemistry samples and soil geochemistry that showed that there was silver in a variety of locations on the property. We came in 2015 as a joint venture partner to cooperate with Canasil to explore the project. In 2016, we hit our drilling program hit a discovery hole for the Belarus deposit. Now, the Belarus deposit was a marvelous new discovery, and within 9 months, we had our first resource estimate out. Drill hole number 1 going into the Belarus was from the very first sample interval number 1 was 61 meters of 359 grams silver per ton.
That's a great intercept.
Beautiful intercept. And it turned out to be a horizontal unit. The horizontal unit is a crystallithic tooth where fluids had flowed into that tooth, very porous, and precipitated silver as a disseminated silver deposit, as a tabular unit over 30 meters thick.
Mm.
And on that hillside, if you look at it from a geometry viewpoint, the stripping ratio would be less than 1 to 1. So moving waste rock to get at it. Just a beautiful setting. The joy was certainly in our hearts of discovery. We had 33 million ounces of silver identified in our very first resource estimate. Then, of course, came the first metallurgical tests.
Right.
Oh, the sadness happened at that stage. So the year of joy and sadness happened, and it was a case that it is metallurgically challenged. That our recovery of silver, getting the silver out of the rock, was a problem. And we don't see this as being an end situation, but we certainly are something that we're going to address.
What was your original recoveries on that material?
Well, the original recovery was 10%.
Oh.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
We managed to get it up higher with a variety of different other tests that we were doing. But that was the very first test. And I thought there might have been a typographical error when I saw it. But it turned out that that while we do have some native silver, and we have silver halides, which is the salts, so bromargyrite and chlorargyrite, those are fine. But it was the manganese oxides and hydroxides that had silver in their crystal lattice that requires a different approach than what we were doing. Having said that, this is where the story becomes interesting again, and we're looking to add the third chapter. So to add to joy and sorrow, we'll add a chapter, we'll call it redemption. And on this makes a good title for a talk at the Discoveries Conference, I'm sure, when we do this.
Oh yes, I'd be looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah. Well, what we have here is the rhyolite crystallithic tooth with its disseminated silver just shows that there's a lot of silver in the system, but it's on the distal portion of this collapsed caldera. And we look at across the way to SSR Mining, that's the previous silver standard. They have a project called Lapidaria. And Lapidaria's geology is very similar to Sandra's geology. So the unit that they have called Cordon Colorado has a crystallithic tooth with bromargyrite, cerargyrite, native silver, and it's a rhyolite just like it is at Sandra, and it has disseminated silver with manganese oxides and hydroxides. It looks just the same as you find at Belarus.
That's the identical situation. Yes.
So you move away from Cordon Colorado in La Pideria, and you get their Breccia Ridge, which you go down into the Breccia Ridge and you hit the sulfide facies. So it's a change of mineralogy to a mineral that's much more amenable to recovery.
Right.
What we're looking at now is heading towards an area that we call the Cerro Colorado, the colored hill in the property. And in that part of the project, there's a small artisanal mining operation, Pequeña Mineros, if you will, a family operation, and they're mining high-grade silver in sulfides, not in manganese oxides.
Hmm.
So it's showing that there is a change in the Sandra camp as well. And so as we move in that direction, that we're expecting the mineralogy to change. And this high-grade operation, they hand cob it and bag it and just truck it directly to the smelters in Torreon. So it gives you a sense for what that mining operation was like.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So now that Pan American Silver is involved, you've mentioned in the past that they're bringing in some top-notch metallurgists. They're looking at some solutions to this metallurgical problem.
Yes, yeah, that's right. My job and my team, we're really good at finding things. So we find the silver, and the experts in Pan American Silver will be looking at metallurgical issues that came with the Belarus part of the deposit. But it's not anywhere near the end of the story. Now, the vice president or chief operating officer, rather, the chief operating officer for Pan American Silver is Steve Busby. And Steve is a top-notch metallurgist by background. So it's his team that will be taking a look at that side.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting story to hear about. I'm sure that the people at SSR Mining are very interested in this as well.
Yes, SSR Mining have looked at different ways of handling their material. They have worked out ways to increase the recovery, but you also want to do it in a relatively inexpensive way. So you could always get the silver out of the rock. If you melted the whole thing, it'd be like doing a fire assay. You can't do that for a mineable scale. So it's always a matter of cost versus recovery when you're working out these situations.
That's an interesting story. Could you tell us a little bit about the Belcara group and the team at Orex?
Great group of people. The men and women at Belcara, I've been working with them since 2003, and that was the time when the fellows came over and convinced me to go down to Mexico to design an exploration project for one of the companies in our group. It was called Orco Silver. Orco Silver, we were the discoverers of La Preciosa. And you may remember La Preciosa. It was a big discovery of silver in the same region, the central part of Durango. And in that case, we took a property from an initial prospect with some old tunnels that predated the Mexican Revolution, so over 100 years earlier. There were some tunnels. So there were some manifestations of mineralization in tunnels, and there were 7 drill holes. At that,
you've certainly done much more than that now, yes.
Right? So we moved in, and when I was involved in the stage we were selling it, the project, we had 714 drill holes. We drilled 245,000 meters of diamond drilling, discovered 265 million ounces of silver in the La Preciosa zones, primarily in a blind deposit. One of the zones is called the Martha vein. And the Martha vein is flat-lying vein structure that was not known historically. So it wasn't on any of the maps.
Oh, really?
Never discovered it.
Completely blind.
Completely blind. If you go to the Zona Oriente on the property, which we thought was a separate system, it turned out to be like a flaring of the end of the Martha vein system. So it was
Yes.
discontinuous by the time it got to that point.
Right. I
Um,
see.
we ended up with, for shareholders' value, which is very important as well, is because we keep in mind the importance of our shareholders, those who invest in our companies. We moved it initially from 5 cents a share and a market cap of $700,000. And when we sold it, and Coeur Mining was the eventual winner in the bidding for it, we sold it for $2.71 a share, and we sold it for $380 million.
That is
So that's
just unbelievable.
the home run.
Yes, absolutely. More than a home run.
Yeah. So that's the same group. That is the Belcara group. Now, we also should mention that Oryx Minerals, being part of that group, made a very key investment over in Europe. And that was a gold property called Barsele. A Selle in Swedish is a bend in a river. So it's a
Oh, okay.
Barsele. There's a small village that's nearby called that. And so Barsele is in the Skellefteå trend of northern Sweden. Beautiful area, wonderful place to work. Up there, it was in Oryx Minerals originally. And so we had properties in Mexico and we had properties in Sweden. And investors saw a disconnect there, that we would talk to an investor in Munich or Frankfurt or Zurich, and they'd say, "We love your Swedish projects. What a great gold project that is that you're working on. But what's with these projects in Mexico? We don't know much about exploring down in Mexico."
Yeah.
Then we would go to New York and to California and to other places and talk to investors and say, "Mexico, beautiful place to make major silver discoveries and gold discoveries."
Sure.
But do they have mining in Sweden? So there was a real disconnect.
Yes.
So what we did for that is we split Orex into two. And Orex, each shareholder of the previous Orex got shares in Orex and a share in Barsele Minerals Corp.
Barsele. Okay.
Right? And so those two companies going forward are separate companies, but that's part of the same discovery group of the Belcara group. Right?
I see. La Preciosa is still in development stage. Is that correct? They haven't brought that into production yet.
La Preciosa is in development stage. When we sold it, about 6 weeks later, the silver price started to fall. You may recall our timing was brilliant. So we sold it, and when silver was about $23, $24 per ounce, and of course in the last few years it dropped down between $12 and $14 per ounce.
Oh, yes, even lower than that, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So silver at La Preciosa would make sense as a super pit, was one of the designs, and in their economic evaluations, $20 per ounce silver would make money at La Preciosa. But because it had dropped down below, they decided to put it in inventory for a while, and then they're going to consider how stable the silver price is, because silver price has climbed back up.
Right.
If you were to put it into production now, you could do the super pit and make money at La Preciosa. And it's not just me saying that. I've talked to the president and the vice president exploration of Coeur Mining, and they said yes, they're looking at their options for that property. So,
yeah, well, silver, of course, is pushing $30 an ounce and shows signs of continued upward.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, because I will love to go to the opening of that mine, because it was my Nina for several years, my project, my little baby. So
well, don't forget to invite me. I'd like to go to that as well.
For sure. Now, one other company in our group is called Silver Viper, and Silver Viper Minerals Corp is a newer company. It's exploring in Sonora, so it might be another company that you could interview for this project,
yes,
for this program.
I know the La Virginia property is an excellent property.
Yeah.
And
The drills are turning on that property as we speak.
Yeah, they should be having some news coming off of that ground shortly.
They will be, yes. That's right.
Well, Ben, you have a unique background, including having been granted the honorary title of knighthood from the Order of St. George. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, like other people in our group, we also have a life outside of mining, in philanthropy and giving back to our various communities. And so
Right.
it's not just me, but it is nice to be recognized, certainly. As you may recall, I used to be in the Navy. I was a naval officer with the Royal Canadian Navy, and we had a coastal rescue and patrol in my early days. But since then, I've done a lot of work in the philanthropic side to support veterans and to support youth organizations. Like we have the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets. So in Canada, we have the Army Cadets, the Air Cadets, and the Sea Cadets, and they are youth citizenship and training for our future leaders, really. I was fortunate enough to go through the Sea Cadet program myself, and I benefited greatly by it. So what I try to do now is I support the maintenance of the sailboats on the West Coast here for one of our local corps. And I also raise money for wounded warriors in the veterans programs. Somebody recognized the philanthropic work that we did, and so they made me a knight, tapping me on the shoulder with the sword, and I have the fighting cape, and the medal, and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's excellent. So we should refer to you as Sir Ben.
It is technically Sir Ben, but nobody really uses that, especially not my lads in the office. So
Uh,
I'm just Ben.
no, that's great. That's really interesting. Congratulations. That's quite an honor.
Thank you.
And I guess also like to ask you a question. How's your experience been as an expat working in Mexico?
It's been really good. Mexico, who could not love Mexico? It's a wonderful country. It has some really warm people. It has so much going for it. Its security issues often take precedence in the news when you go to other countries and you hear about some of the cartel works and some of the serious security issues, but they are by no means the only part of the Mexican story. The vast
Yeah.
majority of Mexicans are wonderful people. Um, I've certainly benefited, having originally gone down to Mexico on a trade mission in 1988 that was separate from going as a tourist.
Oh,
But went to a trade mission, and it was a trade mission for the mining industry. We did Mexico City, Lima, Peru, Antofagasta, Chile, Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires, Argentina. But Mexico was certainly a highlight for me, and recognizing it as we stood in Mexico City, looking around the damage that had been done by that huge earthquake that
oh,
happened.
that's right. That was right about the time of the major earthquake.
That's right. So I
Yeah.
always wanted to come back to Mexico. And so in 2003, when I was invited by this current group, our group of people, to design an exploration program for La Preciosa, I jumped at the opportunity, and I don't regret it at all. I've had some really great experiences in Mexico.
Oh, that's excellent. I'd love to hear those stories. And I guess to finish off the interview, how do you see the current environment in Mexico for mining exploration?
Overall, very positive. I see that mining over the next decade will play a key role in the economy of Mexico. I see the precious metal sector, gold and silver, leading the way as the prices are leading the way, because it's a hedge against inflation, against actions, turmoil in various parts of the world. But it is also for silver. Silver is an industrial mineral for half of its use and a precious metal for the other half. So it tends to have a little bit more volatility. The industrial portion has been a little slower picking up. The precious metal side certainly has been very strong. But the more and more electronics that we produce, there's silver in your electronic components. The computers that you're in front of right now for this Zoom call certainly has silver in that
Right.
production. I see base metals being a little slower to pick up, but because it's tied much more to the trends in the economy. Zinc may be lagging a little bit, but copper is starting to show a change right now, and it's going to be picking up first.
Well, with the push towards green energy, some people don't realize that that implies an incredible amount of copper, use of copper.
A lot of copper gets used in the green energy. Silver as well. If you think about photovoltaic cells or your solar panels on the rooftops of buildings, a lot of silver gets used in the production of those photovoltaic cells.
Well, Ben, we really appreciate your time for this interview. Thank you for giving us your perspective on things in Mexico and an update on Orex. And we'll stay in touch. We'll be looking forward to seeing your drill results.
Well, before we go, I'd also like to compliment Douglas Coleman and his team there at the Mexico Mining Center, because you're keeping us in communication and
Thank
you're
you.
keeping us in touch across, not only in Mexico, but for everyone interested in Mexico who's outside of Mexico at this time. So thank you very much, Douglas.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Ben. Have a great day.
You too.